The next two episodes are a little intermixed and a little out of order and a little in order. Episode 4 is all about the build on the body. Episode 5 will be all about the neck, and that one is going to be worth watching because, oh, there were problems. I'll get into that later. However, I wanted to kind of preface the two with this. So there's a little bit of context. A lot of time has passed. I started working on the body back in October, I think. So it is now the last week of December of 2022. I don't want to neglect getting stuff out there, even though I clearly am. So here we go. Decisions have been made. So I've been installing the binding, as you can see. Already done. Did the major sides first, and the curves. Still a mess because I haven't done any kind of sanding. The tricky part was going to be figuring out how to get these little end bits done. So I did this one already. Basically cut a little angle. I don't know if you can see, this piece comes out to here. I cut an angle and tucked that in, and then wrapped it around, and it overlaps there. I hope that blends in nice when I get it all done. And then the same thing here. Yep. So it shows the in progress version of the same thing. So I tucked it in under there, wrapped it around. Used the heat gun just to pull it in a little bit, and then taped it so this was pulling this way quite nicely. So then I just cut it off. So I installed this lovely binding, as you saw. And I thought, you know what, I'll use my trimming router bit just to get the little bit of width off of it. You know, bearing on it, won't touch the wood. Except it did. Right there. I'm going around that end of it, and man, it caught that end grain somehow. And it's really weird because I'm not seeing a line anywhere else that would indicate that as I was trimming the rest of this, I was only getting so much of the width. And I had the bit up higher like this than I would normally, just because there was some glue squeeze that I wanted to have the bearing above. But man, yeah, it took a bite. It took a bite there, which of course flustered me. You know, because anytime a spinning blade of doom takes your wood and tries to throw it across the room, it wasn't that bad, but man, it was a lot of bang and it scared me. What I should have done is just lower the damn bit down and sand off the parts where there was extra glue if it kind of went over them. But then I got this. I'm going along, minding my own business, and I get here and all of a sudden it was zinc, and I couldn't figure out why. Well, yeah, because there's a great big hole right there that the bearing went into, and now I've got a little piece of binding missing and a little divot. I can fix that pretty easy with a little bit of sawdust and some glue. I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with that. Or just leave it and call it a sign that this is a little rough around the edges like the original. That sounds like a cop-out, doesn't it? So I'll probably do something. Certainly said this before, but having two bandsaws is really cool. I should sell this. I really should, but having the one with the smaller blade and the one with the big one for resawing and bigger cuts is really nice. Yeah, that's pretty close. I don't know why this is like one of my weak spots that I just can't ever quite get right, is making this kind of piece that fits into a hole perfect. And I don't get it because I'm using the exact same template. I'm tracing it with the very, very precise mechanical pencil. Yet somehow it's still always a little off. In this case, it's not that big a deal. Not really. I can probably either, yeah, I can live with it or whatever, but it just makes me a little crazy. Things to practice, right? Things to practice. Originally, I was going to be kind of clever with this, and I was going to do three control knobs, one volume, one tone, and then I was going to use a rotary 5-way switch to do the Strat style switching. And the more research I did, the more it sounded like that wasn't the greatest idea. It sounds like those switches kind of tend to fail. There may be the way they function causes a break when you switch from input to input. That might cause a pop. Basically, a lot of stuff that made it seem like doing it the old-fashioned way is probably the best. But the way I did this top, I didn't plan on that, so it's a little thick. And I'm going to have to route the top down to somewhere around 1/8 of an inch. Right now it's at about 1/4, which is terrifying, just because, I'm putting the router on the back of the body, and I'm going to have to be very, very careful about my depth. And it just strikes me as one of those things where, so many things could go wrong, but I know what they are, so in theory they will never happen, right? I get impatient when I get to certain steps, and that's not a good sign. So anyway, I get impatient. That's probably a good way to end it. That's just all that needs to be said. I need to drill a pair of pilot holes at either end of the slot, partly so I can see how much space I'm going to have to route on the back, and I don't know exactly where that is. I could probably figure out how to measure it, but this seems, one, like the best way to go about it, and two, it forces me to commit. It ain't pretty, but it'll work. This ought to be the last part of the body build pre-finish episode. I'm going to try to fix the binding thing because I just have to. Got a sharp chisel, got bits of binding. The intent is to cut straight down, maybe a little bit of a bevel, and just clear out the stuff around the divot. Cut a piece to length, slide it in, glue it, let it dry, and then I'll use some sawdust and CA glue to fill up the little gap right here. So let's get to it. this is dry, I'll blend it in a little bit, use some acetone, one of the two, and try to blend those edges in so hopefully they won't be so obvious and have to, get the thickness down to where it's supposed to be. Shouldn't be too bad. Should probably be better than if I left it. We'll see.